What happens when a man goes cold? Not rude, not bitter, just emotionally unreachable. He stops arguing, stops proving, stops responding, and without warning, the woman who used to feed off his energy starts to panic. Not because of what he said, but because of what he's no longer giving. That warmth, that attention, that subtle reassurance that said, "You still matter." When that vanishes, so does her control. You want to know what really breaks them. It's not you yelling, it's not you chasing, it's not even you leaving, it's you staying physically present but emotionally distant. That moment when you stop giving her access to your emotions, that's when she starts losing her mind. Because for the first time, she realizes she's no longer inside your world. And the silence, the lack of reaction, it becomes a mirror, and she can't handle what it shows her. She thought she had time, thought she could pull back, test you, play games, and you'd keep trying, keep chasing, but you didn't. You went cold. You stopped feeding the system. You shut off the emotional faucet and walked away from the table without slamming the door. That's what hits different. You see, men who go cold aren't heartless. They're fed up, emotionally exhausted, done explaining their value to someone who only started listening after the connection died. And by the time she realizes what happened, she's talking to a version of you that doesn't care anymore, a version that's silent, calculating, and completely detached. This isn't about revenge. This is about survival. You went cold to protect your peace, to guard your energy, and now she's unraveling because her favorite game finally ended. If you've ever had to go cold just to protect your peace, if you've learned that silence speaks louder than begging ever could, hit that like button. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment below. My distance is my power. Now, let's begin. Number 1. She couldn't feel you anymore. She didn't panic when you got quiet. She panicked when she couldn't feel you anymore, when your responses became colder, when your tone changed, when the warmth in your voice disappeared, even if the words stayed polite. That's the part she wasn't ready for, because emotional coldness doesn't show up as disrespect, it shows up as disconnection. And that kind of silence, it doesn't scream, it starves. She was used to being felt. She relied on your reactions, your frustration, your concern, your affection, even your anger. It all meant you were still emotionally tied to her, still engaged, still affected. But once she looked into your eyes and realized there was nothing behind them anymore, the spiral began. You were still showing up, but not really present, still listening, but no longer available. She could sense it, feel the shift, and the absence of emotion hit harder than any fight ever could, because deep down she knew it's easier to pull a man back from anger than from indifference. Anger still has passion, still has hope, but cold is the funeral of connection. She didn't expect that from you. She thought you'd keep pouring, keep fixing, keep reacting, but you went numb, not as a tactic, as a defense, because you finally saw the truth. She didn't deserve that version of you anymore, so you stopped giving it. And now, she feels everything you no longer express. Every moment of silence is a reminder of what she had, and what she'll never touch again. Number 2. Your energy was her drug. Now, she's in withdrawal. She didn't fall for your words. She fell for your energy, the way you made her feel secure, seen, wanted. That steady current of masculine presence that grounded her in every moment, even when she didn't say thank you. She became addicted to it, not openly, not consciously, but your energy was her emotional high. And now that it's gone, she's crashing. She didn't realize how much she depended on it until the supply stopped. That subtle emotional fix she got from your attention, your check-ins, your reassurance, the way you made her feel chosen, even when she was pulling away. All of that became part of her identity, her ego, her sense of control. And when you took it back, the withdrawals kicked in. Now she's anxious, irritated, overthinking, not because she loves you, but because she can't regulate herself without you. Your presence masked her instability. It filled the gaps she refused to confront. And now she has to sit with all of it, alone. See, people don't panic when you leave their life. They panic when you take your energy with you, when they realize they were never in love with who you were, but with how you made them feel. And now that feeling is gone. That high is over, and the crash is loud. She's spiraling not because you're punishing her, but because you finally stopped feeding her. And now, just like any addiction, she's chasing a hit she'll never get again. Number 3, you stopped explaining. She lost her script. She knew exactly how to keep you invested. Push a little, pull a little, trigger a reaction, and wait for the explanation. You always had one. You'd defend yourself, explain your tone, your loyalty, your love, just hoping she'd understand. And every time you did that, you gave her a script to work with. You gave her a role to play. Because as long as you were explaining yourself, you were engaged. And if you were engaged, she still had control. But then you stopped. No more paragraphs, no more "let me make this clear." Just silence, short responses, no follow-ups, no chase. And just like that, her whole playbook became useless, because she had no idea what came next. You see, people who rely on emotional manipulation thrive on predictability. They need patterns. They need emotional cues to feed off. When you explain yourself, you expose your inner world. You show them what matters to you, and they use it. Whether it's guilt, gaslighting, or false vulnerability, they twist your words until you're the one apologizing for reacting to their disrespect. But when a stoic man stops explaining, he's not being passive. He's shifting power. He's saying, "You don't get to know what I think anymore." That's what scares her. Not the silence, but the unknown. Now she has no idea what you feel, no idea what you're thinking, no idea what you'll do next. And that unpredictability, that's where her control collapses. She lost the script because you finally dropped the role. You stopped performing. And now she's left trying to provoke a reaction from a man who no longer plays along. Number 4. Cold men are unpredictable. That's what scares her. When you were warm, she knew your every move. She knew if she pulled back, you'd lean in. If she went silent, you'd reach out. You were emotionally predictable, and that predictability was her safety net. But when you went cold, you became unreadable, and that, more than anything, is what shook her to her core. Warm men give comfort. Cold men give confusion. Because now, she doesn't know what to expect. You're not reacting. You're not chasing. You're not even showing signs of being bothered. And that quiet, calculated distance, it's chaos for someone who's used to having emotional leverage. The truth is, the moment you became emotionally unavailable, she lost her ability to forecast your behavior. And when she can't predict you, she can't control you. That's why cold men feel so threatening to people who play power games. You're no longer participating, you're detached, you're observing, and every time she tests the waters and gets nothing in return, the panic builds. You didn't just pull away, you shut the emotional door, not with cruelty, but with finality. And now her scripts don't work, her tests fall flat, her tricks lose power, because the man she used to influence is no longer standing in front of her. In his place, a version she doesn't recognize, one that feels colder, sharper, unreachable. Cold doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care more about yourself now. You're not being cruel, you're being clear. And she can't handle that clarity, because unpredictability isn't just unsettling to her, it's terrifying. Number 5, she doesn't miss you, she misses the control. When she reaches out, it's not because she finally understands your worth. It's because she doesn't understand your silence. That's the difference. She's not mourning the connection, she's mourning the control she used to have. The ability to pull you back in with a few carefully chosen words, a fake apology, or a random check-in just to keep you emotionally on the hook. She doesn't miss you. She misses the version of you who reacted, who cared enough to fight, who kept the bond alive, even when she was doing everything to kill it. You were the constant, the predictable source of attention, validation, emotion. And now that you've gone cold, she's realizing she lost more than a man. She lost her grip. Because here's the truth. Women who play with your emotions don't want love. They want leverage. And when you were warm, you gave it to her. You showed up no matter how she acted. You explained yourself. You gave her chances. But the moment you shut that down, she had to face the brutal truth. She's no longer the one with power. That's why she's spiraling. Not because she suddenly values who you are, but because she can't control you anymore. And for someone who lived off emotional dominance, that loss hits harder than heartbreak. She lost her ability to bend your boundaries, and that's what's breaking her now. You went cold, not to hurt her, but to heal yourself. And in doing that, you destroyed the one thing she truly depended on: control over you. Number 6. Withdrawal is where she meets herself. When you were emotionally present, you acted like a buffer. You absorbed her chaos, softened her insecurities, and carried the emotional weight she refused to acknowledge. She never had to face herself because she had you. But the moment you went cold, she had no one left to lean on, distract her, or absorb the fallout. And that's when the mirror appeared. Emotional withdrawal doesn't just leave her alone, it forces her into confrontation with herself, with her behavior, with the version of you she took for granted. See, when a man pulls back and refuses to emotionally engage, it creates a vacuum. And in that quiet, she hears every echo of what she said, what she did, and what she pushed away. This is the moment where the truth starts to haunt her, not because you're punishing her, but because there's no longer anything blocking her from reality. Your warmth used to protect her from the consequences of her own patterns, but now that you're cold, she's exposed, and the reflection staring back. It's raw, it's unfiltered, and it's her. She thought she was in control, that she could push you, pull you, mold you, but now you're gone. Still physically there maybe, still polite, but emotionally vacant. And in that absence, she has to sit with the weight of her own choices. No more deflection, no more distractions, just silence, just distance, just truth. Withdrawal isn't cruelty, it's clarity. And for the first time, she sees what she was really doing and who she really lost. Not a man who chased, but a man who finally stopped saving her from herself. Number 7. She can't manipulate what she can't access. When you were emotionally available, she had access to your mind, your heart, your triggers. She knew what to say to pull you in and what to do to knock you off balance. That access was her advantage, not because she used it for connection, but because she used it for control. And you gave it freely. You thought love meant transparency, vulnerability, total openness. But what you didn't realize was, some people only want access so they can exploit it. But then you shut the door, quietly. No fight, no scene, just a shift. You went cold, not physically distant, but emotionally protected. You stopped reacting. You stopped offering your thoughts on command. You stopped being the emotional mirror she used to see herself in. And the moment that access was denied, she lost all her leverage. She can't provoke you now because you don't flinch. She can't guilt-trip you because you don't explain. She can't use your own words against you because you don't give her any. And without that emotional access, her power dies. That's the move she never expected. You didn't scream, you didn't disappear, you froze her out. A man with emotional control is immune to manipulation because you're not feeding her ego anymore. You're not trying to win her back. You're not reacting to the bait. You've gone inward, cold, detached, stoic. And when a woman who thrives on chaos meets a man who doesn't even flinch anymore, that's when her whole game collapses. She's not confused. She's powerless. And all because you finally realized that not everyone deserves access to your emotions, especially someone who only opened the door to control the room. Number 8. You became her obsession by doing less. You used to give her everything: time, effort, presence, emotion. You over-delivered because you thought it would make her stay, and the more you gave, the less she respected it. Because what's abundant becomes expected, what's consistent becomes invisible. She didn't see the value in what was always available, but then you pulled back, not with anger, but with indifference. And that's when everything flipped. Now she's chasing shadows, checking your socials, rereading old messages, wondering what happened to the man who used to orbit around her. You didn't blow up her phone, you didn't plead your case, you just stopped showing up. And the silence, it rewired her brain, because now you are the one she can't stop thinking about. This is the paradox of emotional withdrawal. The less you give, the more they obsess. Not because you're playing hard to get, but because you're no longer accessible. And that inaccessibility creates tension, unanswered questions, emotional friction. You became unpredictable, and unpredictability is addictive to someone who thought they had you figured out. She expected a breakdown, a relapse. She thought you'd fold and come back around, but you didn't. You did less. You pulled your energy inward. You focused on you. And suddenly, she's hooked on the one thing she never had to fight for before: your attention. You're not obsessed with her anymore. And now, ironically, she can't stop obsessing over the version of you who finally stopped caring. That's not manipulation. That's gravity shifting. That's what happens when a man becomes scarce, stoic, silent, focused. He becomes unforgettable. Number 9. Emotional starvation breeds regret. She never thought your absence would hurt. She assumed you'd be back, that you'd break the silence, that the connection was still there, waiting to be revived whenever she was ready. But now, she's starving, not for your body, not for your words, for your energy. And emotional starvation is a pain she never prepared for. You used to feed her constantly, reassurance, attention, comfort. Even in conflict, she could count on your presence. But now you've gone cold. You've cut off the emotional supply. And when a woman who feeds off control, off validation, off knowing she still matters, gets nothing, that emptiness turns into regret. Not the kind of regret that says, "I love you," the kind that says, "I messed up my own power play." Because now she sees what she really lost. A man who showed up, who didn't run, who gave her a rare kind of emotional access. And instead of matching it, she exploited it, took it for granted. And now, in the silence, she's being forced to reflect on what she actually gave you in return: almost nothing. The regret she feels isn't just about losing you. It's about realizing she didn't deserve you when she had you. That's a different kind of pain, a deeper one, because it doesn't fade with time. It lingers. It eats at her slowly. Every time she sees your name, hears your voice in her head, scrolls past something that reminds her, it stings. You didn't have to punish her. You didn't have to make her feel it. You just stopped giving. And that silence, that cold, emotionless distance, did all the work. Now she's starving. And you've already fed yourself, healed yourself, and moved on, without ever raising your voice. Number 10. Cold isn't cruel, it's calculated. You didn't go cold to hurt her. You went cold to save yourself, to stop bleeding for someone who kept handing you the knife, to stop overextending, over-explaining, over-investing in someone who only responded to pressure, not peace. Your emotional withdrawal wasn't revenge. It was survival. Cold is clarity. It's what happens when a man finally steps back and sees the damage, sees the imbalance, sees the manipulation masked as love, the control disguised as connection. And once you see it clearly, you can't unsee it. You stop reacting. You stop engaging. You stop showing up in places that drained you. That's not cruel. That's self-respect. She'll call you heartless, detached. She'll say you changed. And she'll be right. You did. You stopped putting your emotions up for auction. You stopped giving unlimited access to someone who thought your love was a guarantee. And now that she no longer has the code to unlock you, she calls it cruelty, when in reality, it's the first time you chose yourself. That's what emotional withdrawal really is. Not punishment, protection, a boundary, a line in the sand that says, I won't bleed here anymore. Because coldness isn't the absence of feeling, it's the presence of control. A man who feels everything and still chooses silence? He's not weak, he's dangerous. You didn't turn cold out of hate, you turned cold out of wisdom, and now that you've stopped feeding what was killing your peace, she's the one left out in the cold. You didn't go cold to get a reaction. You didn't pull away to play a game. You withdrew because it was the only move left that protected your soul. You were warm for too long, too forgiving, too available. And she mistook that warmth for weakness until it was gone. Now, in the silence, in the distance, in the cold, she feels everything you no longer say. Emotional withdrawal isn't cruelty, it's clarity. It's what happens when a man finally understands that not everyone deserves his vulnerability, that peace is more valuable than being understood, that not every connection is worth saving, especially the ones that feed on your energy and starve your self-worth. She thought she could handle it. She thought you'd fold, but you didn't. You chose peace over chaos, silence over drama, discipline over impulse. And that decision? That's what separates the stoic from the emotional. That's what turns a man into a force that can't be touched, because he no longer needs to be heard. If you've gone cold, not out of hate, but out of strength, if you've chosen emotional withdrawal to protect your power, hit that like button. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment below. My distance is my power. This is Stoic Blessing. Stay silent, stay grounded, stay untouchable.